Hello and welcome to episode 37 of the Comedian's Tea Party with Deaves. And in this episode, I have got the absolutely lovely Maff Brown. If you don't know who he is, he was recently on Mock the Week, which you can hear us talk about. And he also created and runs the comedy club Outside the Box, and I'm not just saying this because I like that he books me occasionally and think that he should book me more. Genuinely a brilliant gig, really, really lovely gig, and it's always got incredible lineups. So well worth going to check out Outside the Box comedy clubs and go and check out his comedy as well. Very funny man, very lovely guy. Go and watch his episode of Mock the Week. Be warned, as you get into this, there is some bad language. So if you're upset by that, stop being upset by it, or stop listening now, or just whenever you hear that, do an internal beep in your head, like you'd hear on TV. Sort of imagine that there's a beep, beeping it out, and then beep it, do the beep. So I've been gone for a couple of weeks. I was intending to sort of try and release these every 2 weeks. I've been super busy. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for coming back and listening. And thank you for sending this to all of your friends to tell them to listen in the future and immediately. I have got some exciting things coming up though, in regards to why I've been busy. So keep your eye out. But also, it turns out if you have a very, very young kitten, which generally kittens are quite young because, they're kittens, it turns out it can massively elongate the amount of time it takes to edit a podcast because I have to keep getting up to stop her from climbing the curtains or the blinds or pulling bits out of my leg. But I love her and I wouldn't change it for the world. Now, this is a really, really great conversation. I really enjoyed it a great deal, and listening back to it was brilliant. There's loads of sort of really great insight from Maff. We talk about comedy and the industry at the minute, but in sort of quite a positive way. And we talk about the importance of telling people what you want and asking for what you want, basically, because it's the old adage of if you don't ask, you don't get, and that is absolutely true, as is proven by Maff, as you'll discover as you listen to this episode. There's a little bit where I start talking about a map of words, which doesn't really make sense, but I did look it up, and you may have seen it being used before, but it apparently is called a tag cloud, which tells you the regularity with which words and phrases are used in certain pieces of information. So if you don't know what a tag cloud is, or you don't know what I'm talking about, just go and Google tag cloud, and that'll tell you. We're also talking about local comedians from around here. There's loads. There are genuinely loads. There's an actor whose name I can't remember. His name is Tony Way, and I really want to get him on the podcast at some point. And Lee Evans, turns out he was actually born in Bristol, but he lived near here. So that's sort of the same thing. I'm going to claim him as our own from Essex. Although thinking about it, his accent doesn't make sense. But whatever. He's a very lovely guy. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on here before, but a conversation with him is basically why I started comedy and had the confidence to give it a go. So thank you, Lee Evans. Also, at one point, I do an impression of Paul Foot, which in an audio context does not make sense. So I would advise that you go and watch the Alternative Comedy Experience, which you can find on Now TV or probably YouTube. Go and check that out. I'm not being sponsored by either of those people, so I'll just say do your own work, do your own research, go and find that. And there are a couple of notification sounds that come up during this. I've got a new laptop that I've only had for a couple of episodes now, and sort of still finding the foibles with it. Turns out it works similarly to the other one, but for some reason this one creates notification sounds when they go off. So I've fixed that now, but it does happen during the episode. So if you're upset by that, get some perspective. There's worse things happening. It's quite a dark way to end the intro, but it is the end of the intro nonetheless. So I'll see you at the end with a couple of plugs and that sort of thing. Oh, by the way, if you do think that I'm taking too long to edit these, then why don't you pop on over to ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/Deaves, and send me a bit of money, and I can pay an editor to do it. And then, I'll be able to put these out sort of weekly, or maybe bi-weekly, but I just won't have to do it, and it'll get done quicker and more efficiently. And then I can concentrate on getting bigger acts, because I've been talking to a lot of agents recently, and it turns out when you talk to agents to try and get bigger acts, that they ask what fee you can pay them, and I haven't got any money, so I can't pay them any fees. So if you want to get like, huge big name acts on the podcast and have me talking to them and have some enjoyable content, and I'll give you a shout out and I'll say all sorts. In fact, if you pay me to get, some particular comedians in and you want me to get them to give you a shout out, you let me know and I'll see what I can do. I already got Matthew Crosby to talk my wife into buying a cat, so I can work miracles. In the meantime, go and enjoy the podcast, and I'll see you at the end with some plugs and links. Hello.
Hey, mate.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah, good. Right, there's going to be the odd interruption from my cat. I will warn
Don't
you
worry,
of that.
man. Yeah, totally understand. I'm just waiting for a big delivery as well, so I might have to nip out at some point.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a delivery of some pens, so very exciting.
Yeah.
By the way, much of this is going to stay in. We've already started recording.
Good.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it to be raw and fucked up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my style. Cool. It appears to be recorded. So, right, normally I forget to do the intro until quite far in. So I'm just going to do it now.
Sure.
Like a pro. So, hello and welcome to episode 37 of the Comedian's Tea Party with Deaves, with me, Deaves, and this week my guest is Maff Brown.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. I've only just realised it's Deaves. I thought it was Davis.
Yeah, no, I get that a lot. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I get Matt a lot as well, so it's one of those annoying things. Yeah.
I was wondering about that. Is your name actually Maff?
It's Matthew,
right?
But basically, what happens? Mike got an older brother by 2 years, and he couldn't say Matthew, and he used to say Maffu.
Oh, okay.
And it just changed to Maff, M-A-F-F, and it's actually the Welsh shortened version of Matthew.
Oh, is it?
There's quite a few Maffs in Wales apparently, but that's not really a showbiz story, but that's about as good as it gets.
I thought it was going to be like an equity thing, like there's another.
No, it was. Do you know? It was very close to. I did Heels Jago's Amuse Moose course.
Oh yeah.
And my email has always been Maff Brown, but just before I went into comedy, I was in football, and football's very much you have to have an IE or a Y at the end of the name,
right?
Brownie or Matty, and Maffy just didn't quite fit in football, so it came. I was Matt for a long time, for about 10 years in professional football.
Right, okay.
And then my email address has always been Maff Brown. And then Heels just called me Maff, and it just stuck as my sort of comedian's name.
Nice. Oh, that's cool. Oh, I like your mug.
Yeah, that's a Christmas present from my stepdaughter.
Nice.
Says the boss on it.
Very good. Yeah. Make sure that you get the selfie with that one. That'll go,
yeah, sure.
That'll go on Instagram and seen by, upwards of 5 people. Christ alive, my cat is playing with the audio interface at this point.
Yeah, that's normally the case.
Yeah.
I've had to lock my dog out for the same reason.
She bit immediately halfway through some of my headphones the other day, which was nice. So
how frustrating.
Yeah. So now I've got these ones, which are more expensive and frightening for her to... She'll be fine.
Yeah.
Right, stop it. F*** off. I love you, but f*** off. Nathan Caton wrote a very similar poem about his girlfriend.
Yes, yeah, he did it. Do you know, first time he ever did it was on one of our Zoom gigs.
Was it? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had him on like sort of middle of last year, I think, and he was telling me about that. What was it called? I love you, but can you fuck off now?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. And he absolutely smashed it, and all of a sudden he realised he had a hit on his hands.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any sort of poetry?
Do you know, funny you should say that, because I used to have a podcast myself called Joke Fight Club, which started off as a sort of an idea of just trying to generate material. And then because it was hosted at my little gig in Kingston every Monday, and part of it, one of the rounds was write a poem. And
right.
I really enjoyed it. I was never really any good at it, but I really enjoyed doing it. And it was very interesting to see which comedians had it in their locker as well.
Oh, okay.
Like Mickey D was phenomenal. And obviously Alexis Dubus, anybody that's got some sort of musical rhythm to them as well was really, really good at it. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I haven't done it since. But that podcast was so much work for me. So every week I literally had to write a panel show's worth of jokes. And, and everyone that was coming to do it would only come and do it once, so they'd just come and bring their best stuff. So it just looked like I was dying on my arse every week. So 25 weeks in a row, I just went, this is brutal.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, fair play. That's where you need to start employing writers, but then there's a whole other stigma to that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I was going to ask, actually, I don't normally come prepared with questions because I'm not that kind of guy. Because you were on Mock the Week at the tail end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
That was the tail end of last year, wasn't it?
December 2nd, I think, yeah.
Nice. But before that, were you a warm up on that?
I've actually been involved with the show for about 10 years, to be honest with you.
Have
So
you?
I used to write for one of the regular panellists who's not there anymore. And that all started from my little gig in Kingston. And he used to come down and try out the jokes. And I just started passing him a few. And eventually he said, would you want to write for some this week? And then that developed into writing for him every week. And I did that for about 7 years. I think I've done a warm up for the last 3.5 years, maybe 3 years.
Oh, nice.
And it's always been a case where they've sort of said to you, look, if something happens on the day, you're going on. And it's nearly happened 2 or 3 times. And this time they'd phoned me before the beginning of the recording, because obviously COVID was a situation. They said, look, chances are it's definitely going to happen this time. So,
Nice.
Get ready for it, so to speak. Yeah, and I'm still sort of on hold. I mean, the good thing is it went really well, and they've promised me an actual show without being on standby. So that's nice. Something to look forward to eventually after 10 years.
So, now that you've done it, would you go back to doing warm up?
The warm-up's really fun, actually. So I've cut a lot of warm-up out. I used to do loads and loads and loads of it. And now I only do Mock the Week, or if it's a show that I want to sort of work on, if you know what I mean. So, because I was an absolute whore for it. So I did loose women for 4 years.
Oh, really?
And it's very difficult to take down. It's like, 36, 40 grand a year, depending on how many episodes you do.
Good grief. Nice.
And it wasn't hard work. It was and it was daytime. So it meant you could gig in the evening as well. So it's really useful.
Yeah.
But it does mean you sort of get fat off the land a little bit, and your creativity starts to wander because you're not hungry for the next level.
Yeah, that's it.
So eventually I sort of made the decision, went, right, no more warm up unless it was Mock the Week and Have I Got News for You, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't do any others apart from that now.
Oh, nice. Where it's see, that's I've kept myself consistently unsuccessful, so I'm hungry all the time.
Yeah, well, that's I think, in a way, it's kind of a better route. And Terry Alderston was saying the same thing to me age ago. I didn't have a day job anyway, but he said, don't give up the day job, because then you can do what you want to do. Not what the industry thinks you should do. And it was a very interesting way to look at it, because that's how his career's gone. Eventually he was quite mainstream, and then he went, don't want to do this anymore, did what he wanted to do, and got to the top. It's peerless. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's actually from the same town as me.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Southend.
Yeah, like Rochford, like specifically. Right. Yeah. He used to live around the corner to me. And I don't know, something about that sort of excited me. The idea that successful people can come from where I'm from.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Staines. So the only people that came out of Staines, I think, were Bobby Davro. I think a TV presenter called Tommy as well. And I think that was it.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I'm technically... Oh, John, who was on Big Brother 4 or something like that.
I'm not sure that counts. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, there's actually quite a few people who've come out of Southend. Like Terry Alderton for one, and Jamie Cullum was from around here.
Right.
Yeah, and like Matthew Bainton from Ghost and that, and who else? There's a long list of them. There's a guy whose name I always forget, but whenever I see him on TV, I'm like, he's from where I'm from. Rachel Riley as well. She's from down the road.
Right, it's quite a hotbed. I'll tell you one thing. My first residency as a compere stand-up was in Southend for Smashy. And his son's taken over, Little Smash.
Yeah.
And it was
really
hard work. Sorry, what was you going to say?
Oh, sorry, I was just saying, Little Smash lives literally a 3-minute walk from my house.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And he's an absolute legend. They all are.
Lovely
Big Smash was the first person who employed me. But every other week I was comparing in Southend, and they're very funny, sharp people in Southend.
Yes. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I think that was the first sort of comedy club that I went to, actually. It wasn't his. It was Ross's and Matt Adlington's, who lives down the road from. Who's my best man, actually. So, it's quite a close knit little group. But it's quite funny. I didn't know any of them until I started comedy. But like I was friends with Matt's brother, but I'm now sort of closer friends with Matt. But I just happened to do a gig in like a terrible open mic, and Matt came up to me afterwards and was like, "Oh, you're good, but you're from where I'm from. Recognise your name." Like, oh. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. Do you want to share a lift home? It's like, yeah, okay. Now we're here. So yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, he's a good lad. He was mine and Nathan Caton's very first Edinburgh. We shared half an hour each, and Matt was friends with Nathan, so he was hanging about with us for a bit. And I think we ended up getting him in the show for a little bit.
Oh, really?
We hid him behind a black curtain. pretended that we forgot that he was there. So halfway through, we were just binging him out. But it was, we didn't know what we were doing. It was quite new.
That's the best kind of Edinburgh show, I think. I mean, that's the spirit of what the Edinburgh should be, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're right, I think. And the first 3 solos, I put so much pressure on it because you get told it's make or break. And my first solo went up with Phil McIntyre, and I did the Pleasance, and they're ploughing 30 grand into your career, and you just feel it wasn't enjoyable. It was just like, well, I'm not doing what I want to do here. I'm doing what you want me to do.
Yeah.
And my first show was awful. So I wasn't ready for it. I'd only gone 4 years, and I'd written a whole hour just specifically for it about quite a sensitive subject, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
But then once I got through the first 3, and then in 2012, I took a little sketch group up that I just written all the sketches and got my mates in it, basically. And it was the best fun I've ever had in my life. It was just a month of pure joy and mucking about and changing the script each day, but then ad-libbing as well. And we went to the Gilded Balloon. We just sort of went, well, let's just do what we want to do. And who cares if anyone else likes it?
Yeah,
and it was probably my most successful Edinburgh, in terms of stars-wise. And I think we got recommended as top 10 things to see in GQ, and it was
nice.
I think that sort of element of they're having fun, so we're going to have fun as well.
Yeah.
Element that came across to the show. Loved it.
Oh, my cat again. Just if you want to say.
No worries, cat's back.
Roisin. She's got to look at someone's delivering a parcel, I think.
Yeah, that's handy. Is that for you?
It could be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're just knocking and walking away. Yeah, it looks that way. Right, what was I going to say? We were talking about Edinburgh. I've completely forgotten. Sorry, my cat.
Don't worry, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Nothing to do till 12 o'clock. It's perfectly fine. We can muck about all we like.
This conversation's quite fluid anyway. It's the way it tends to go. Right, Edinburgh. You went to Edinburgh. Yeah, we've all been to Edinburgh. I like it. It's.
Have you done a solo show?
Yes, I have. I've written 2 fully. So the second one I took to Leicester, and it was better than the first one. And the first one was good. I really enjoyed it, actually. But the second, I just remember what I was going to say. I'll come back to that in a second. So, yeah, the second one was good, but I didn't get that to Edinburgh. So I think it was that year I was sort of buying a house with my then girlfriend, now wife. And, and then the following year we were saving for a wedding, which then sort of led to last year, and here we are.
Yeah, well, that's good, mate. To be honest with you, I've probably thrown, I reckon, over the years, £100,000 at Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So, because the first 2 or 3, like I said, the first one I didn't pay for, the next 2 I went big, and it's such a waste of money.
Yeah.
Such a waste of money. You're either going to be discovered or you're not. You don't need to spend, 10 grand on PR and marketing.
Yeah,
it's
that's
totally
it.
A waste of time.
I know a few people who've done sort of quite well out of going fairly low key, like Tom Mayhew. Like he took his show up, and that was sort of quite a personal show, but because of the angle that he was coming at it from the sort of the working class, like telling his Tom Matthew was what it was called. So he's telling his sort of Daniel Johns. What was the film called? Wasn't that?
It's called Dave Johnson's the bloke that played it, isn't it? Daniel Blake. Is it?
Daniel Blake. That's it. I mixed the two. Yeah. It's his version of that. So that sort of got quite a lot of like press coverage and that sort of thing, and was sort of. And now he's got his show on Radio 4. He's doing really well. So
that's it. And he can be. Nick Helm was the same. Nick Helm was doing a £5 fringe on his first one, and everyone went, "My God, this is amazing." Next thing you knew, he was in the Pleasance, and then on the telly. So it can happen. It's just I think Andrew Maxwell put it in a really nice way by saying, "Every year, one comedian escapes."
Yeah.
I think, I can totally understand what he means by that, but to the general public, it won't make much sense. But it just means you don't have to do bloody Edinburgh anymore.
Yeah.
you get your break and you get on telly, and you don't have to do Edinburgh anymore.
Yeah.
But it is fun. I'm looking forward to going again. I'm looking forward to anything again, to be honest with you. But I'm looking forward to going up. So I've been going 15 years now, and I still don't know what I'm doing in terms of an Edinburgh show.
Yeah.
I really don't. Honestly, it'd just be. I've tried so many different methods of writing one, and I think all I'm good at is telling jokes and stories, and it's just a question of just having them all. You don't necessarily have to have a load of callbacks at the end. You don't have to have that 40-minute mark. You just got to feel free to do what you want to do, and to just provided it comes from the heart. I mean, I've watched so many Edinburgh shows of friends and of mine, and you sort of go, well, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
That story definitely didn't happen, because you can see in a club, you can get away with that because they're giggling and laughing anyway. And it's, it's a 20-minute hit of you.
Just being silly.
Whereas if they're staying an hour, you've got to keep their attention and keep it real. So as soon as you lie to them, they can tell that you're lying, and they sort of lose a little bit of heart into the show. Really.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the only things I think I've learned over doing them.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, like I say, I started writing a third show as well. Like, yeah, from that I've come to realise that you can do sort of whatever you want really in a 20-minute set, and it's sort of quite freeing in that sense. But then I really like writing shows. Not that I've done sort of much of it, but I enjoy the process, and I've got sort of a method of just sticking post-it notes on a big board, and then realising sort of how they link up and like how different bits could sort of relate to different bits, and then I'll put other bits in reserve, and then one day I'll sort of write another bit that will fit in with another. And yeah, it's like a sort of a jigsaw just coming together and going, oh, it turns out there's an arc to this, and then yeah, it's quite. I find it quite a sort of, because it is that, like, I really like the sort of the mathematics of it, of going, this bit fits here, this bit fits here, this bit fits here, these bits are linked by this, and then yeah, it's just sort of a puzzle that pieces itself together.
Yeah, I read how to write a screenplay book,
okay.
or how to write a film as well, and it was the 3-act process, which I just didn't really understand what that was when I first started comedy, but it's just basically what you just explained there. It's got an arc, it's got a start, it's got a beginning, it's got an end.
Yeah,
and that's I think now if I was to write a show, that's how I would try and consider making it a story completely. Make the story first, and then put the jokes in second. But I think now I'd have a better understanding of keeping someone's attention for an hour.
Yeah.
You still got to make it funny, haven't you? But you got to, do to have a look at the 3-act play if you think about writing one as well in that respect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm working on a sitcom in a minute, and
cool.
I've had a sort of a few different bits of advice sort of here and there, and some people have said, oh, you want to do, like, do you know Mike Shear?
Know the name. Yeah.
A Canadian guy. He's very good, lovely guy. But he was telling me sort of like with each issue that you bring up, it wants to have a beginning, middle, and end to each issue, and then sort of, but on the whole thing's got a beginning, middle, and end as well. So yeah, and it's got it wants to be a certain type of issue that you're sort of bringing up as well. But then, I saw someone, there was a thing. What do they call it? Where there's like they do the diagram of how many times a certain type of advice comes up, or like a certain word. Do you know what I mean? Like that sort of the mind.
No, I don't know. Not heard of that.
There's a name for it and they do it on like House of Games, where they've got like different size words depending how important the word is according to the film.
Right.
It just sounds like babble now. But anyway, yeah, there was a thing that someone had posted up the other day that was about like screenwriting. And the amount of times it was, someone had read 300 scripts and they'd counted how many times they'd made specific variants of notes, and there was one of them that came up like the third amount of most of times, saying that the issues weren't relevant enough and they weren't sort of important. But then this was a very roundabout way of getting to a single point, was that things like Seinfeld, where there were sitcoms about nothing, like if someone, I just imagine, like, if someone went to the BBC and said, "Oh yeah, I want to write an episode of a sitcom about someone who can't get soup," they're like, "Fuck off."
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a very different world from when Seinfeld was first made. But, but again, I think that's if you enjoy their company, it doesn't matter what the situation is. Like, there's a new sitcom on, I think it's on Fox, and it's two people that have been in Saturday Night Live, and they've been in films. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about, they're city dwellers, and they buy a farm and they go and become farmers, in a rural place. It's a rural life, I think that's what it's called. And you think, so fucking what? So what? This is. It's not important, but obviously, like you say, the way that's been pitched is, okay, where's it going to be set and what's the setting? Great, that's great. As opposed to, you just write what you want to write. Yeah,
that's it. Because like what I'm working on at the minute is it's basically just about sort of buying a house and sort of the process of discovering where you live and your neighbours and that sort of thing, which is essentially nothing, but it's the sort of the drive on the relationship and sort of the foibles that everyone can recognise.
Well, it's relatable as well. Yeah. Most people, even if you don't buy a house, you still move to a different area, you move to a new house, and you're still with your partner. So it still makes a big difference in that respect, because it's something that everybody can do, but not everybody has bought a farm and moved to the middle of America.
No, that is niche.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember what I was going to say earlier about when you were saying about you did your first show with Phil McIntyre, and ended up doing what he wanted to do. Because Russell Kane, obviously, like he's also from down the road from me, so there's another example. And Lee Evans. So yeah, there's a lot of people come out of this area that have done really well, which is really cool. And obviously, yeah, Russell Kane started with Smashy as well. He did.
In fact, Russell was about 2 or 3 years above me in comedy years, if you know what I mean. We was related to your year at school, don't we? But he was like 2 or 3 years above me at school in comedy years. And he was living in Clapham.
Oh, okay.
At the time, and then moved back to Southend, and then told Smash he was in the area, and then I pretty much got the sack as a resident host, and Russell took over.
Oh, I'm sorry to have brought you up,
because Russell was phenomenal, but then it was but without their help, I wouldn't have been able to get where I got to. So but
they've done good stuff for many careers. Well, Ross always says his sort of claim to fame, as it were, is that he told Mickey Flanagan to do Out Out. And he was like, "Oh no!" He said, "I've dropped that bit." And he was like, "No, do it. Like the crowd love it." And he's like, "Oh, I'll do it tonight." And then it brought that back in, and now it's what it is.
Oh, Mickey was always phenomenal. So his 20 minutes was untouchable, and you couldn't follow him either. He was so brilliant at it, and it was so joyful to watch. Again, it's one of those ones that you come out and you'll watch again and again and again because it's one of those. It's almost rhythmical. It's almost like a song, isn't it? Out, and it's just a perfect piece.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, he's very good.
It's so relatable. It's so layered. It's so observed.
It gets quoted so much now as well. Like someone says about going out, and immediately there'll be like 40 people jumping on the comments going, "What, out?" Like everyone.
Exactly. Yeah. Like they thought of it.
Yeah. I always loved his PP bit as well. When the PP becomes the PP. Have you not seen that?
Say the bit again.
When the PP becomes the PP. And he's
looking
out from behind the curtain. Yeah, it's incredible. And like, again, that is relatable. Like especially in my sort of, I live in a cul-de-sac, and like sometimes I'll be looking out the window. There's a guy who he told me that because I had to ask him what he was doing, because he told me that he comes to look after a neighbour's cat, and then because he just follows the cat around, and like. Because it's a communal garden, he's always just in my garden, like walking around, just following this cat. And I said to him one day, like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah, Catherine asked me to come and look after a cat." And I was like, "But did she tell you to follow it and like document his every move?" And he's a really weird dude. And like I often look out in my garden, he's just there, sort of wandering around. I'm like, what is he doing? Very bizarre.
That is strange.
Yeah. So yeah, he's in the sitcom. in his
and that's a nice story as well.
Yeah, that's actually the part that I want to play in the sitcom as well.
But it's plenty of callbacks as that as well. So just have him in the background 2 or 3 times.
Absolutely, yeah. Because there's a woman that lives. So these are cluster houses, and there's a house on the back of Catherine's house. The woman there, she's got about 7 cats. So, and yeah, it's great. There's a really nice sort of variety of people, because on the opposite corner to my cluster, there's 2 guys that live there, and for ages, like I met one of the guys, and he had a dog, and he let the dog shit all over the car park, and like the guy, I tried to say hello to him, and he was really rude, and I was like, "God, that guy is so rude." And my wife was like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "Oh, the guy with the dog around there." And she's like, "No, he's really, really nice. I met him the other day. He's a lovely guy. He's got a cat. Like, what are you talking about?" So we were convinced that there was this guy, like, he was just really nice to her and horrible to me, because they got, like, they're both sort of about 5'9", 5'10", brown hair, like medium build. That's the description of them. But that's the description of both of them. And it turns out there's 2 people. One's an arsehole with a dog. One's a lovely guy with a cat.
Right, fair enough.
So we called him Jekyll and Hyde. And
nice.
They're in
It'd
a
be a nice idea if he was the same person and he's only nasty to you but nice to her.
Yeah. Like we just assumed that's what it was for ages. Like he fancied her and it was nice to her, and it's like, "Oh, who are you? Competition."
More than likely, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. So I mean, I've not written that episode yet, but the idea is there. So we'll see. Maybe there will be one person. Yeah.
Nice idea. I like it.
Oh, that's what I was saying. Anyway, like Russell Kane, obviously, like he gets a lot of stick from people being like, "Oh yeah, it's just this guy," and like I was just trying to act cool all the time, and like lying about his age, and like that his agents did that. That's what a lot of people don't realise. His agents said to him, "No, you should look this way and be sort of androgynous, as it were, and like be this age and wear these clothes." And he's like, "Oh, all right." And then he got like various bits of TV and was successful off of that. But then he's happier now that he's doing his own thing and absolutely smashing it. He's incredible. So
he's always been brilliant, Russell.
Yeah.
And I remember him getting a bit of stick for all that, and it wasn't really fair. It was more, professional jealousy and people just, what comics are like. We're very bitter people. If one person gets success that you don't like, then you just write them off, and it's so stupid. But Russ has always been absolutely brilliant. And you're right. I don't know, but I would strongly suspect it was his agents, because I know who his agents was at the time.
Yeah.
And they all seem to think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think most agents seem to think they know what they're doing, but they're not the ones that are on the stage.
No,
so
absolutely. That's
if
it.
you know what you're doing that much, get on the stage.
They see some level of success and they go, "Oh, well, I know how this works."
Nobody knows how it works. It's the thing. You could ask the top cheese at all the top agencies, and they don't have a formula.
Yeah.
It's just majority of it's people who work hard with a small amount of luck, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, they throw a lot of shit at the wall, and some of it sticks, and they assume they know what sticks.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I haven't had an agent now probably about 7 years. My first agent was the best one I'd ever had, but at the time it was, when you come in and you're all cocksure and I got quite a lot of attention when I first started, and she got me in an audition for 8 out of 10 cats, like within a year of doing it, and I was awful in the audition, absolutely terrible, and rightly so, didn't get it. But then I couldn't understand why she couldn't get me an audition on all the other shows.
Right,
she was just sending me for like castings for adverts. I didn't want to do castings for adverts, so you get all a little bit up in your own ego. I went, I need to move agents. I left her and I couldn't get another one for ages, which is that's a lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
And then I've just found that over the years I've had 2 or 3 different agents since then, and unless you've got one of the big agents that have the right contacts or have the right area for you to go into, they're all pretty useless anyway, and even if you do sign one of the big guns, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get you on Have I Got News for You or Mock the Week. It's still a lot of battling to do. But I've always had the mindset of just keep working hard, and they can't ignore you forever.
Absolutely.
And again I remember Mickey Flanagan saying that they can't ignore you forever. And he was almost famous at that point, but he just we were having a chat about how long he'd be going for. He said, if you're good, they can't ignore you forever. Good idea.
That's the basis I'm working on.
And you've got to take a lot of your own career into your own hands now, whereas again, without trying to sound arrogant, when I started, but when I started, YouTube didn't exist. So
correct.
There wasn't a platform. Twitter didn't exist. I think Facebook had just started, maybe. So you didn't have an opportunity to create your own fan base and create your own business and create your own brand. Whereas now you can. So I'm 47 now, and my YouTube channel was a mess. That's the way it's got to be better than that. It's got to be, you've got to be putting out content. And again, with the podcast I was doing with Joke Fight Club, that was getting quite a few listens towards the end. I say quite a few, but 4,000 or 5,000.
Nice.
But it was so much work. And if you didn't have it published at the same time every week, like a TV show, like scheduling used to be, then you'd lose followers and stuff like that. So it's all about, you basically got to be your own channel in any form of social media or platform that you're using, and just got to be consistent with it. And that's where I think you look at like Nigel Wooden, who does Uncle Roger's, he's got 1 million subscribers because he's brilliant at it. He's brilliant at it, and he's also brilliant at putting them out at the right times and stuff like that. And if you can make that work for you financially, great. Well, why not? You don't need agents. You don't need TV executives. You don't need gatekeepers.
Absolutely.
And it's. But, again, maybe this is my generation. I wouldn't consider myself successful until I was regularly on the telly. It's one of those things.
Do you know Jordan Gray?
No.
Like she's from down the road from me, and she, I don't know when she started stand up. It wasn't that long ago, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And she was originally on The Voice,
right?
But then, like, she writes sort of musical comedy, but she had a mini series commissioned by Comedy Central, which came out as like shorts, and was incredible. But she doesn't have any representation, does it all herself.
Cool. What was her name again, sorry?
Jordan Gray.
Jordan, and then Gray is the colour?
Gray with an A.
Okay, just have a quick look. I don't know who she is. Oh, yeah, sort of recognise her now, yeah.
Yeah, you'll probably have seen her face about, like, she does a lot of Ross's gigs.
Right.
Yeah, but she's great. Very, very good. And she's actually looking to record obviously when we're allowed to, she's looking to record a special. Like, we were briefly talking about it at a gig. We did a gig on the last day that we were allowed last year. And like Ross just squeezed us on, and he was trying to run 2 gigs, and then he sort of combined it all to one. And he was like, "Right, you're all on." So come down, so like all the local guys, because Paul Peary doesn't live far away, so he came down, and then there was me, Matt, John Oakes, Ross was on obviously, and Jordan. And do you know Ross Bishop? He does Kasabian.
Yeah.
No, he's not done a lot of gigs, but he's very good. He does a character for Lothario.
Right. It's good to hear all these names because I've been out of the loop of this because obviously we haven't been booking in the comedy clubs. Yeah. Kingston's normally every Monday night and it's quite experimental. We'll have all different types of comics on, established, get ready for a TV show, new acts getting there, finding their feet. So it'd be lovely to hear and see all these guys again because that's one thing I miss because, Kingston's been going for 15 years. It started when I started. And the amount of people that have come through it and gone on, and it's been like different waves of generations. Even Mickey was coming down regularly for, 70 quid on a Monday night. And then McIntyre was coming down every week. So he lived around the corner. So he was trying stuff out. And then they got mega famous. And the next generation came in, which was Russell Howard, Greg Davis, that sort of, they came in, they went up. And then the next generation of Romesh and Josh, and they came in. And it's so nice to see these guys when I've seen them right at the very beginning. I remember Romesh I think it's very early on in his career. I don't know how many gigs in, but we did a gig for Stephen Grant in Hurst Pierpoint, I think it was. And he was one of the open spots in the middle and I was closing. And I just said to him as soon as he'd finished, "What do you do for a living?" He said, "I'm a teacher." I said, "Okay, tomorrow, go in and tell them you want to be a supply teacher because you're going to be famous in 3 years." And he sort of went, "You reckon?" I went, "Well, I've seen this happen before. Just trust me, you'll be all right."
Oh, really?
And it wasn't long, 2 to 3 years later, he was on the telly. He did live at the Apollo quite early on, and everyone, hardly anybody in the industry had heard of him. And I went, no, he's fucking brilliant. And that came from, I think, him doing a gig supporting one of Curb's biggest acts in a warm-up gig, and Anthony Cavanagh, the producer for Live at the Apollo, was there. I went, right, you're in.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So it's all those sort of things that you need to look out for. You never know what's around the corner in this industry. And that's the thing as well. I've never sort of counted my chickens. And even when I recorded Mock the Week, we recorded it on Tuesday and go out to Thursday, I didn't mention anything about it until I knew it was going on the telly. Yeah. So it's one of those, again, it's until it's been published and it's out there, just assume it hasn't happened.
Yeah. All of your lines may have been cut.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly that. My missus has got an iPhone, but suddenly it's gone to green. When you send a text.
Yeah.
What do you reckon that is in?
I've no idea.
Yeah, maybe it's just not online. Maybe it's just 3G, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, what is it, like iMessage?
Yeah, she's just literally got a brand new iPhone 2 or 3 days ago.
Oh.
But it just went green this morning. I think she might just not turn off her Wi-Fi. I don't know. Sorry, that's neither here nor there. Don't need to include that in the podcast.
Yes, well, I'll leave it in. It'll that's the sort of gold that people lap up. Right, where were we?
We're talking about Romesh being discovered live at the Apollo.
So people
just
come through.
Basically, that's what I was saying. You never know what's around the corner.
Yeah,
and also when I did do that episode of Mock the Week, it is amazing how people get in touch with you afterwards. So I very rarely do corporates. I do maybe 3 or 4 a year. For the simple reason I can't stand doing them. I hate doing them. I don't like taking the money for just being ignored. It's, I've only ever, I must have done, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 corporates in my life, and I've only enjoyed one of them. So they're always a bit of an arse. But come Christmas time, we'd just gone back into lockdown, December 2020, sorry. So basically it meant November, December and January, all the live gigs had gone straight away. So basically all that money that I was going to bring in to pay for my tax bill had gone completely. So I had no choice but to do these corporates. And because they were over Zoom, it wasn't anywhere near as painful.
Yeah.
And so I ended up doing like 7 or 8 corporates in December.
Nice.
Which I would have never have had if I hadn't have been in the right place at the right time, done the right amount of work, and got the opportunity on Mock the Week and done well on that opportunity. Yeah. So the knock-on effect from that is cool. Quite... It comes, it's still coming in. So this week I got an email from Sheffield University saying they're doing a study on how people react to political behaviour, and can I write them 16 minutes worth of little clips, for a nice enough fee, because we saw you on Mock the Week. So
that's cool.
All those opportunities just come. It's just a bit weird, I'd still find Romesh his phone must be constantly going off.
Yeah.
And you do constantly get asked to do stuff as well, which is nice. And even charities. I mean, I don't really do many podcasts, but this is going to be the 4th podcast I've done in 2 days.
Oh, nice.
So, before that, it never really happened. So you just got to accept that your luck and fortune is helping push you on and getting people to hear a bit more about you.
Yeah. I mean, I was planning to get you on anyway. So.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you were. I wasn't saying you weren't, but you've spoken to you loads of times before. So it's nice that it can finally happen.
Yes. Yeah, nice. There's you were saying about people sort of doing stuff without agents as well, and obviously Bobby Mayer, like he didn't have an agent for a long time, and like he was just representing himself, and he got on TV before any sort of interest, and then got more and more TV, and now he's doing all sorts of stuff, and
very, very great flavour of comedy as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
Bobby.
I love Bobby.
So unique, and again, he's another one of those that I'd always come out and watch.
Yeah.
Even if you're on the same bill, sometimes, even if it's stuff I've heard before, I just think the way he does it is so rhythmical, and it's believable. It's about that when you sort of go into his world and he brings you to sit forward or sucks you in a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's a rare gift to find in anybody, let alone stand-ups.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I had an opportunity last year. Do you know Graham Wilkes down in?
I know who he is.
Yeah. So like I was on holiday in Cornwall a few years ago, and it was my sister's ex-fiance. So I've got a half sister that lives in Cornwall. So like I go down there as an excuse to go to Cornwall. And yeah, my sister's ex, who was her ex at that time actually, was doing his first open spot. And like he said to me, like, "Oh, what you doing?" He was asking me for advice and that. And I said, "Oh, like, where is it? I'll come down." And it was only sort of half hour down the road from where I went. And I went down, and he was awful, absolutely died on his ass. But I said, like, "Oh, if I'm popping down to watch, like, I'll see if I can get on." So I did, and I smashed it. So, and
nice.
As a result, Graham immediately, like, I've got him on my email signature, like, gave me a quote saying something very complimentary, and he was like, "Oh yeah, anytime you want a gig, like, let me know, and I'll book you, and sort of put your name out there." And oh, thanks very much, man. Yeah, so he booked me for a preview of the double header with Bobby, and.
Right.
And he was like, "Oh, can you drive Bobby down?" I was like, "Yes, I can. Yeah, I will do that. Absolutely." So, we just jumped in the car, drove down, and we were offered a place to stay, and then we realised we didn't want to stay in that place, so we just drove back again. Right. So we spent about 15 hours in the car together. I just had a great time. Just had a really, really nice time, like hanging out.
Yeah, it can
and
be,
then, like he said a couple of things to me after my preview that made me think, I think I can do this. I think I might be funny, and obviously, like, he killed it as well. So yeah, we both had a good gig, and that was
nice,
very nice indeed.
Nice. And that's important as well, though. I think that's something that we don't do as much as we used to in terms of helping each other out, comedians wise. It used to, I used to love being backstage at Comedia in Brighton, and it would be 3 or 4 people that you get on really well with, and because you're there for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday, and you stay in the hotels, and you go out for lunch with each other. I really miss that part of it.
Yeah.
But then it used to be giving each other callbacks, or how about this extra line, or do you know what I mean? And that doesn't really happen so much anymore. It seems to be very much, I'm not helping you didn't help me, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, I came from a coaching background. Before I went into comedy, I was in professional football as a coach. So I always had that nurturing side of me, I think, and wanted to help everybody else. Again, the same with when I saw Romesh. It's like, how can I help you become where you want to get to? Because you're going to get there, but how can I be of assistance to it?
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem to happen anymore. There's a few, like Smashy was like that. Smashy was brilliant with me, and I've because again, I've tried to help anybody that's come through. And what's really nice is when you do that, is when they get famous, these guys still remember you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they come and do Kingston, they'll come and do New Malden.
Yeah, and like Russell has Ross open for him on tour. So like,
yeah, I mean, that's amazing.
You helped me in the early days, so come and support me on tour, and yeah, it's great.
Well done. Yeah, that's the thing. And what I've also found is if you don't ask, you don't get. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Show business is very much, I sound like Swiss Tony then, but it's very much, you've got to take your opportunities and you've got to be brave. So I was in Lead Balloon, which is a sitcom written by Jack Dee. And that came purely for me asking Jack, can you put me in it?
Oh, really?
Because we're on the set at Shooting Stars, because I used to do the warm-up and write for Shooting Stars.
Lovely.
And Jack, during the day, we sort of, we'll kind of rehearse it a little bit, but Jack would be sat there and I'd fill in for one of the guests, and Vic and Bob would do their bit. But there's downtime, so Vic and Bob would go off and do a little bit. And I just turned to Jack and said, "Are you writing a new series?" "Yes." "In charge, you put me in it?" He went, "Yeah, probably, yeah." I thought nothing of it. 6 months later, down the road, in fact, I was on holiday somewhere. I can't remember where I was now, but I was on holiday. Turned my phone on for that hour, and Jack phoned him fucking hell. And he went, can you come and do next Tuesday? You're a TV repairman.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, if you like. You know, so again, if you don't ask, you're not going to get these opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not everybody knows what you're thinking. You know, and that was another thing that's, you know, when I was working on Loose Women, I kept on sort of trying to angle any chance I could be on it somehow, you know. But because I didn't outright say, by the way, you do know I want to be on the telly.
Yeah.
You know, this is as simple as that. You know, sometimes you can't angle it, and sometimes you've got to be a pain up the arse to be a nuisance.
Yeah,
but again, it was Andrew McLean, who was one of the McLean. I always get told off for saying it wrong. She was one of the presenters on it, and she said, just go and tell them you want to be on the telly, like that. Say, I want to be on the telly. How can you help me?
Yeah.
All right. And I didn't do that, but I regret not doing it, because some of those producers might go on to work on shows that you want to be on, you know, or they might think you're right for a show they're creating. Yeah. So it's, unfortunately, networking is quite a big part of it. And I fucking hate the networking. I really hate that, going into the bars in Edinburgh. And because no business gets done in a bar in Edinburgh, but you've got to be seen to be talking to people in the bars in Edinburgh.
Absolutely. Well, I missed my last back to my flat in Edinburgh when I was last there. I can't remember when it was, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was quite late at night, and I knew I had to go and get my last bus. And then Jim Owen came in and asked me if I wanted a drink, and I was like, well, I guess I'm staying out then. It was just hanging out with Jim Owen. He's a lovely guy.
Yeah, I don't really know Jim Owen. I've met him once, but I knew of him before I'd seen him perform, because he's very famous in Australia. My brother lives in Australia, so my brother gave me one of his DVDs. I think it was years and years ago, and I remember thinking, he's fucking brilliant. Yeah. You know, he was observational, but beyond its time.
Yeah.
It never really happened for him over here. He does well at the festival, but I think there's no point in him staying here. You know, if you can't, he's done a few bits on the telly, but you can fill arenas, I think, in Australia. So what's the point?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, the TV stuff that he does over here, like his physicality, I think it has been an influence on me as well, of some of the stuff that he does, because like very early on, Tom Ward said to me that I've got the most expressive eyes in the business. And I was like, oh, interesting. He said, I bet you could do sort of, at the top of an hour, I bet you could do 5 to 10 minutes without saying anything and just doing it with your eyes. And I was like, interesting. I've never done it because I think that would die on its arse, but it was an interesting concept to me. And then I saw Jim Owen doing like his eyebrow bit, for instance, of the sort of, I can't remember what it is now. It's like he says different things with his eyebrows in different positions. Yeah. And then also his funniest part of the stage bit is absolutely incredible. And it's just about that sort of the timing and trusting that when you get to a point, it will be funny. And I absolutely love it. And I saw Paul Foot on the Alternative Comedy Experience as well, did that similar thing where he just walked out and he went to say something, and he spent about 30 seconds just going, and just that sort of look of surprise on his face just got building laughs, and and it's amazing. And as it happens, the first time I did the Edinburgh stand where that was filmed, a very similar thing happened, because quite often I walk out on stage, and depending on the crowd, I'll just sort of I'll give them a slightly surprised look and sort of raise the eyebrows. And when I did that at the Edinburgh stand, I got rolling laughter for about 30 or 40 seconds, and it was one of the most magical moments I've ever had on stage.
That's great. That's great to hear. It can be. It's the audiences want to see confidence. They want to trust. Yeah. They basically just want to trust you that you know what you're doing. So if you're comfortable with silence, that's a huge barrier broken down already. Yeah. You know, and again, I learned that from Adam Bloom. He just sort of said, you know, what you're rushing for? They're not going anywhere. Yeah. Yeah, of course. You know, and I didn't do many jonglers, but I did do a few. And towards the end, jonglers were horrendous and dying anyway. And so me and Bloom were doing Battersea jonglers, and there was only about 25 people in there, and this is a big room, could hold 200 to 300. Yeah. And it was just a mess. The gig was a mess from start to finish. It just wasn't playable. And Bloom just took the microphone away. Really? Just put it in the stand, put it over there, and just started talking to them like that. And all of a sudden, the energy changed the room where they had to go, oh, we've got to listen because we can't hear him now. So they all just sort of turned around and listened to him a bit, and then he went down into the audience, off the stage, completely commanded their attention from literally within the first 30 seconds by completely changing the settings and doing it his way. And it was a real masterclass to watch, to be honest with you. And I've done something similar to that. You know, it was a terrible gig in Watford, and it was the same principle, but instead of trying to rush out and trying to make them laugh and trying to get their attention, I took the microphone out the mic stand, and I literally just sat on the edge of the stage just looking at them, you know, just waiting for about a minute. just looking. And some people were getting it, some people weren't. And eventually I'd go, the rest will join in a minute. It was a complete risk on my behalf. I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know if it was going to work, but I'd seen Bloom do something similar, so I'll have a go. And lo and behold, it worked.
Nice.
And then I had a nice 15 minutes and, called it a day at 15. I'd say it was a away draw, because it was almost unplayable, but I just thought, I'm here for the next 20 minutes. I'll do that anyway.
Yeah. Like he said something to me, it was a few years ago, but again, like he gave me some confidence in what he said to do like a similar sort of thing. And, again, like coming out on stage and raising my eyebrows, he said to me like, so I think I've like been in a car show with him a few times, but I think he's only seen me gig once. But he's remembered me ever since. And he said, oh yeah, I'll never forget, like watching you, I thought you were going to absolutely die on your ass. He said, he said you came out and like it looked like you had no confidence whatsoever, and then ripped it apart. And I was like, oh, well, thank you very much. Like that's the greatest compliment that I could hope for, because he's an absolute master of the art, And just him saying, I thought you were going to die on your ass, but you really turned it around. I was like, oh. Fuck.
Again, that's because the audience are judging you straight away. So as soon as they see you, go, oh my God. And not necessarily you, but I'm just saying in general, people will go, oh my God, we don't know what he's doing. Andy Askins, who's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And again, I've done loads of military gigs with him. There can be hard work, and he did it to 300 Marines. And as soon as he came out, they started having a go at him. But, because he knows his character, he controlled it by joining in with them, And he has a bit where he gets, I don't know, like 6 minutes in, he goes, never got this far before, to play along with the character of it. And it just, again, it sucked them all in by the way he wasn't thrown by them, and he totally believed in himself, and he was so confident in what he had up his sleeve. That's the difference. And as much as I do now, when you see someone who's brand new, you can see so many mistakes that are being made. Yeah. And it's so obvious to you once you've done it. But when you're there, you don't know what you're doing at all. It probably took me 10 years to get comfortable.
Yeah.
I was writing so much new stuff every week. I wasn't developing it. It was just for that week for Kingston, and that was it. And it's not until still not 100% sure. I've found my voice totally. It's still work in development. It's still, I know what I would say on stage now as opposed to what I didn't know 3 or 4 years ago. I didn't know where my limits would be. I didn't know what my beliefs were, whereas now it seems to be, I'm happy saying that, because of this. Yeah. So there's a certain joke that I do, which has never, ever had any negative feedback, but it's open to it, because as soon as you use a certain phrase, people's ears get pricked up and they think you're being derogatory, and it's not. It's actually being pro-trans. Yeah. But it's one of those things where people are going to go, are you allowed to do that? And you go, well, go back into it. If you listen to it, it's actually pro. It's just a good thing. I'm saying how great this is. Yeah. But it's open to people having a go at me for it because of the subject matter. Yeah. So I think that's the difference now in me as a comedian to what I was 3 or 4 years ago, is that now I'm thinking about the other side of it more, as opposed to just, this is funny, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm now thinking more, and it's not necessarily because the woke generation have come up, it's more to do with what I'm like as a comedian now, thinking about how these people are going to, what I'm saying, they're going to remember it. Yeah. Even if it's just a throwaway quick joke, they're going to remember everything you've said if they're offended by it. Yeah. Absolutely. You just have to be, and don't stop offending people, because fucking hell, that's what comedy's all about. Yeah. But it's got to be from your beliefs, as opposed to just saying it because you read it. Yeah, absolutely. In Private Eye or The Sun, wherever you're getting your information from, Yeah, obviously, a contentious character, but Andrew Lawrence is extremely funny. Like he's ridiculous. I gigged with him last at one of your gigs in Kingston. Right. And he was phenomenal. And I remember seeing him years ago before any sort of contentious stuff at Ross Little Smash's night, actually. And it was the first time I'd seen him, and it was absolutely amazing. And then some stuff happened, but then he just lives into his character with such intent that you just it's hard to be offended by it unless you want to be offended by it. Obviously, what he said in regards to the you'll have to look that up, listeners, if you don't know what it was. But but see, Andrew Lawrence has always been brilliant. Yeah, he's changed his character and his voice. So when he first started, he was a real long-haired weirdo that would stare at you and play guitar, and some of those dirtiest down. Well, I don't really know think of the words, but it was very dark songs about killing ex-girlfriend's parents and stuff like that, which doesn't sound funny now, but they were hilarious. And then when he won, he got nominated for the Perrier and didn't get it. And then so he went, right, I'm not doing it anymore. And he threw that away and just started becoming a stand-up.
Wow.
And he went through 3 or 4 different transitions to find out where he wanted to get to. And it was, he put something quite contentious on Facebook, and I'm not defending him or agreeing with him. I think it was taken in the wrong way, but I think there was too much in there for it to be a casual mishap.
Yeah.
But again, I've always supported him. He's always been to Kingston. He's always been invited down whenever he wants to. And his parents live in Kingston, so he'll phone me up on Monday afternoon, say, you got any room? So yeah, of course, because he hasn't done anything terribly bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just hold some sort of off opinions, but then a lot of people do who are incredibly funny, and it's
but see, if you look at Twitter now, and certain comedians who we thought we knew as fairly decent people, have just become fucking super weirdos.
Oh yeah,
especially during this time, during COVID. The
some
anti-vaxxers that need to get their voice found. You just think, where the hell have you come from?
I have just watched some people completely unravel during the past year, like completely.
Well, again, I was texting Sean Walsh a fair bit, and he was, because we get sort of started at the same time, so it was sort of my year of comedy. And so we gigged together just before lockdown was about to happen again, but we didn't know lockdown was coming. But it's one of those sort of, it might happen. And we were saying what's interesting during that period is when comedians start arguing with each other, but they do it in public.
Yeah.
I said, and I sort of went, I don't know what you mean. He said, watch this person, this person, this person. So guarantee you in 2 weeks, they've started a row. I went, all right, okay. And all of a sudden, I started noticing more and more of it, and more and more of it, and more and more of it. And it just escalates because they're bored. They've got nothing to do.
Yeah.
And because they're not thinking literally outside the box of, we can't be on stage. So you've literally got to think of another way of doing it. So if it's just little videos or Zoom gigs or, Instagram videos, they're not doing that. So they're bored.
Yeah.
So the only way they're getting their entertainment is to try and start a fight on another comedian in public. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you going to gain from this? Because it's not like you're going to get a lot of followers.
No.
And if you are, it's going to be the wrong kind of followers.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if anything, they'll lose followers.
Exactly.
On the whole.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Or work. I know a couple of comedians. I'm not going to name them, but I know 2 comedians that have said nobody's booking them anymore. There's a reason for that.
Yeah. Do you remember that thing that you did? Yeah, it's that.
Yeah, and it is that. It's because your opinion is your opinion, which is fine, and you're entitled to have it. But instead of just telling people your opinion, you don't have to go and tell everyone else they're wrong.
Yeah, and
that's funny. It's cost 2 comedians I know their livelihood, for sure. Definitely one of them used to make his living out of corporates, and now they've turned their back on him. And he making a good living, 150k a year, I reckon, out of corporates.
Wow.
And gone overnight because of, don't get me wrong, I'm a very big fan of free speech.
Yeah.
But when free speech comes into bullying, that's where you're going wrong.
Yeah. I was talking about this on an episode, 2 episodes ago, about sort of how everyone was kicking off about Donald Trump being sort of kicked off of social media. That's what we were talking about at the time. And like people are saying, oh, but it's free speech, he should be allowed to say it. And the thing that I always like to go back to, the quote that I like to use, is that I agree that you have every right to say whatever you want, but you don't have the right to make us listen.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
Yeah, and that's a good quote.
Yeah. So, we have the right to cancel you and sort of deplatform you.
Yes and no. I don't agree with cancel culture either. I don't think that's the right thing to do. And again, this is a problem as well. As soon as you go, I think they did okay, I don't think there's anything wrong with them, then you become labellers in one side or the other. Now, that's not the point I'm making. What the point I'm making, if somebody does something wrong that isn't horrendously wrong, it's just a bit wrong, and made a mistake, they've held their hands up, they've apologised for the mistake.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be cancelled completely.
No, absolutely. Yeah, people have the right to, what's the word I'm looking for? People have the right to forgiveness.
Yeah.
If they
and it's that's the thing.
But if something's that bad, then there's a threshold. Once you've crossed that threshold, you've gone too far. There's various comedians in the past who I won't name, but I'm sure you're aware of, who've done criminal things, and they won't come back from that, and they don't deserve to. Yeah,
no, don't disagree with that. But then you're looking at Weinstein. I mean, of course, he's never coming back. Cancel for life, of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I just question it, but it's just, I think what happens is, I think it makes us be less braver than we want to be.
Yeah,
I think. Because of where I've seen a couple of examples I just mentioned where they were brave and said what they want to believe, you're not getting any work anymore.
Yeah.
So you've got to find your own line, I think, of what you're prepared to say and lose
Yeah.
at the same time.
But it's like what you were saying before, is, some people are just saying stuff to be heard.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, you sort of, you learned from that just saying things for the sake of being funny and started considering what they mean. And that's what a lot of people who, like, they've always been sort of considered, but then, so they've not had that moment of sort of realisation of stop being a dick, and they've just gone, well, I'm going to be a dick, and they don't know how to do it. They're not good enough at being dickheads, and they cancel themselves.
Yeah. And it's a shame, because like I say, 2 or 3 comics who I know have gone a bit mental were brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant stand-ups. Not hugely ambitious, but were brilliant at 20-minute stand-ups and were always reliable.
Yes. Yeah.
But now, now as somebody who runs a gig, I wouldn't book them because I don't know what they're going to say.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't want, and again, it's nothing to do with stopping them from saying what they want to say. It's all free speech. I don't want people of my audience to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because of this bloke's beliefs.
Yeah. They might start to mistrust you as a booker.
Yeah, and that's not nothing new. That's the same principle. When I first started, I wouldn't have booked Bernard Mangan.
Yeah.
So it's the same principle of that. It's not necessarily what they're saying now or freedom of speech. It's the style of comedy or humour that you want to put across.
Yeah.
There's that Comedy Unleashed, which I've only just really been made aware of, really. But I didn't know what it was. I just thought it was another night that was at the backyard. But it's basically where you can go and say whatever you want to say. You can do whatever you want to do. If you want to be racist, you can be racist. You think, who's going to that?
Yeah.
I understand the principle. I understand it's like, yeah, well done, fight the power, fight the man. But who's sitting in an audience going, when's the racist stuff going to start?
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane, isn't it? Because there's, what was it that happened the other day? There was something, that's what it was. I stand by it. There was someone making like very, very blatantly racist comments. I reported them on Facebook because, it's a dickhead thing to do. And like, you're of no consequence, to be honest. They've got 12 friends and sharing right-wing stuff, and it was basically someone was accusing a Chinese person of doing loads of horrendous stuff and being to blame for COVID, and it was horrible to see. So I reported that one comment, and then Facebook said no, that's fine. So I was like, oh, okay. So I did a status about it, and then someone come up saying all snitches arseholes, and they started kicking off at me. I've known this guy for 15 to 16 years, and he left some horrible stuff, and he was telling me that I should burn and all sorts. And I was like, that's a bit much, really. Like, why are you defending the racists? I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm not going to go out and say, oh, that person said something ever so slightly off colour. Like, I'm not going to go and report them because I probably know where that comment's coming from or whatever. But when someone's being outwardly racist, I think it's okay to say, oh, no, that's wrong.
So do I.
Yeah.
But, it's sometimes people do it for the attention, don't they?
Yeah.
I think you've got to find the line between, do you really mean this, or you just bored?
Yeah.
You just want to fight, or you want attention.
Yeah.
I personally, I can't be asked with a lot of it, to be honest with you.
Yes.
But that's just me.
Me either.
Mate, I'm going to have to wrap up.
Yes, no, fair enough.
All right.
I'm just going to ask you a couple of emergency questions. Not emergency. I'm not Richard Herring. Tea-emergency questions is what they're called. First of all, what tea are we drinking?
It's Barry's tea, because at the moment I'm living in Ireland. So my girlfriend's Irish, so I spend half my time in Ireland, half the time in the UK. And so when Mock the Week finished recording, I came back here, which was February, beginning of February. And Barry's tea is the best tea I've ever had, by the way.
Oh.
And it took me a while to get converted to Yorkshire tea. I was a Tetley man for a long time, and then I went to Yorkshire tea, and it's pretty good. And this Barry's tea is phenomenal. And now every time I go back to the UK, I take some with me.
Oh, interesting. Right. In that case, at some point, if you and I are going to be gigging together in person at any point, I have got a tea called Smuggler's Brew, which is like from the West Country, and that is, I had to get my wife bought me a massive bag of it because I was talking about it so much. I was like, I can't get it anywhere around here. Like, they just don't sell it. So I've got a massive bag of Smuggler's Brew. I'll bring you some, and then
bring some Barry's,
you bring me some Barry's, and we'll swap over, because I always tend to describe Smuggler's Brew as like Yorkshire Gold, but nicer. So there's people that sort of swear by Yorkshire Gold, saying, "Oh, it's the best tea," and I'm like, "Yeah, you need to try this because it's that little step up." So I'll be intrigued to try Barry's.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Nice. I'll write that down as well. I won't forget. Now, on the matter of, do you dunk a biscuit?
I don't. Yes, I do. I wouldn't make a habit of it.
Oh, okay.
To be honest with you,
What would be your
the reason
biscuit?
being is because you can just smash biscuit into You
Yeah.
can do 7 biscuits without even thinking about it if you put it in the tea. But it'll be a chocolate hobnob for sure.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Well, that is pretty much the standard answer. There's been a couple of variants, but it is largely chocolate hobnobs, and that is the correct answer, by the way.
That's good.
Right, now, here are a couple that aren't necessarily tea related, and by which I mean they're not at all tea related. What insect freaks you out the most, and is it because it has so many legs?
Well, see, my first thought was snake, but snakes aren't an insect, are they?
No.
But there's not really many insects. I mean, I wouldn't want to be seeing a massive tarantula or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because, again, when you grow up, tarantulas were poisonous, but I'm sure they're not.
Yeah. I think they are, actually. But I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what the snake equivalent would be in an insect, and this is why I ask if it's because it has so many legs. It's millipedes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Millipede's fine. That doesn't bother me in the slightest.
Really?
Yeah.
Their legs, the movement of the legs scares the bejesus out of me.
It doesn't bother me. I've seen quite a few big spiders. My brother live in Australia.
Have you? Yeah.
You know, that's quite a sight to behold. I don't like those.
Yeah. Fair enough. Right, I think I'll finish with this one. This one came up in the last episode with Paul Savage, because he was talking about, I can't remember what it was in relation to, but he was talking about someone who got famous from dancing with a dog. Now, if you, this is a two-part question, if you had to dance with any animal, what would it be?
It would be my dog, yeah.
It would be a dog?
Sure. Yeah.
Nice. What sort of dog is that?
Well, do you know, I honestly don't know. It's it's jumped out the back of a car, apparently, and it was running around the estate, and we sort of found it running feral sort of thing. And then Sinead, my girlfriend, did some tracking and found out who the owners were, and apparently the owners were taking it to somewhere to be donated to a home.
Oh.
I think that's bullshit. I think they just opened the boot to fuck
try
off.
To get rid of it.
So, but it looks like a corgi, but it's got a different sort of shaped head.
Oh.
And it's a mix of something. It's got 2 different coloured eyes as well.
Oh,
it's
wow.
Like got blue, green and a brown eye. And it's great personality, but a bit mental.
Nice. Yeah.
but she's super fun, yeah.
Yeah. And you dance with, so it's probably little, I imagine?
Yeah, she's still a corgi height.
Yeah. Would you not find her
difficult? A real personality. She's really difficult to train, so it would literally be me holding her paws up, I think.
Just sort of swinging around in the air.
That's been as far as we get, yeah.
Nice. Now, if you did have to do something with a dog, because that could have been any animal you could have chosen there. However, if you did have to do something with a dog as like an activity that people watch you do, that sounds weird. This is already already lined up weirdly. What would you do?
Well, she loves running, so I think eventually we'd be able to get her to do the salt courses that you see the police dogs do. I think she'd be able to do that. Otherwise, it would just literally be running. She's so fast.
Yeah.
But she's so stupid. She doesn't understand why she's running. So the last couple of days, I'm trying to get her to go for a tennis ball, but she gets confused between a tennis ball and her lead. So sometimes I throw the tennis ball, she still tries to bite her lead. She's just a bit stupid, but she'll get there in the end. It's just, I think that's where I think it'll be something to do with speed, put it that way.
Nice. Cool. Well, I think that's about everything.
Nice.
What are your social media links for people to come and follow you, find you?
It's just at Maff Brown, Maff Brown without an E, and they're pretty much the same across the board.
Nice.
At Maff Brown.
Cool. Have you got anything to plug otherwise?
No, nothing going on. Only our shows every Fridays and Saturdays, but that's outside the box comedy.co.uk until we get back in the real world, I suppose. It's just online gigs.
Nice. And I look forward to coming and doing the real world gigs when they're back.
Nice one, bud. I'll send a picture for you now of this.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, mate. Oh, you're taking it now.
Right,
lovely.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
really enjoyed
thanks for coming on. And I'll see you on Wednesday and hopefully soon after as well.
Nice one, bud. Take care.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
See you.
Bye. And that was Maff Brown. A lovely conversation indeed. Really, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, it was good, wasn't it? So yeah, if you enjoy this podcast, please feel free to go over to kofi.com/Deaves and donate anything from £1 up to an endless amount. But hey, if you've got an endless amount of money, then please do send it to me, and I'll just come and work for you. Is that a thing? Obviously, if you can't afford it, then that's absolutely fine. Don't send anything. You don't have to. This is free. This is for you to enjoy. But if you do enjoy it and you want it to happen more regularly and more professionally, then chuck us a coin or two. And that would be really, really appreciated and would definitely go a long way. Now, if you want to go and find Maff on social media, he is just at Maff Brown, as he said, at MAFFBROWN, Maff Brown. And it's also worth going and following at OTB Comedy, which is the Outside the Box social media links, and as he said, outsidethebox.co.uk. And yeah, it's on all sorts. So go and find him, go and give him a like, go and follow the comedy clubs, because I absolutely love that club. You know, I've done a few gigs for Maff now, and they're all just lovely. In fact, it's through his gig that I met Alexis Deaves, who was on the last episode, 2 episodes ago. And, you know, so these clubs are important. Please, if you do enjoy this podcast and you can't donate any money, absolutely fine. You don't have to. Also, you don't have to do this either. But if you can, I'd really, really appreciate it if you go and follow the Instagram, which is at Tea Party Pod. That is a letter Tea Party Pod. It is the same for Twitter, and facebook.com/Tea Party Pod. It's a Facebook page. Go and give those a like, a follow, a like, and then like all the posts, and tell me you love me, and send me some messages and that sort of thing. And go and review us on iTunes, because it helps us get seen, and give the posts a share on Facebook, that sort of thing. It really helps immeasurably, and I really, really appreciate it when you do that, and I love hearing from you. So thanks very much. But most importantly, enjoy yourselves, be good to each other. Tell your friends and family that you love them. Drink a lot of tea. Not a lot of tea. Drink enough tea. Some tea. Drink a regular amount of tea. I'll see you soon. I love you. Bye.